The IT company EOH, is it on the verge of being banned from doing business with the government? That report in from the Business Day earlier in the week, it has its roots, as you say, Sally, in a tender fraud scandal that saw the company being drawn into the state capture debacle. Well, EOH has been on a mission to clean up its image since that scandal surfaced 3 years ago. Stephen van Coller is the EOH CEO. He joins me this evening. Stephen, thanks very much indeed for your time. So this potential banning from government business comes a few years after your team has aggressively fought to turn the company's image from that of your predecessors. First of all, is this banning really possible? It was maybe recommended from the state IT agency.
Well, I think so, Devan. Two things. One is clearly it's possible. I mean, the National Treasury have guidelines of what you, how you can be banned, what has to happen, what the process is. I mean, it sits on their website, and it's there because they don't take it lightly. It's a serious thing. It can destroy jobs. It can also put companies at risk if a company's closed down and they've still got contracts outstanding. So they don't take it lightly. But the reality is you know, when this happened in February of 2019, this was the decision we had to make as a board was, you know, do we try and rescue the company or don't? And so in February 2019 it happened. And by March 2019, we'd already gone to CETA and given them all the information. We then went to National Treasury, we went to BLSA, we went to our customers, we got advised on what we had to do, and I set those five steps out in the SENS announcement and in the press release, and we've religiously followed those steps. So it was, you know, quite interesting to get a letter from CETA 2.5 years later after we'd given them the first bit of information. There's been 6 interactions after that.
Yeah, it was interesting, if I can come in there, Stephen, because you've had this huge cleanup campaign after revelations of those dodgy public sector contracts, and you say it's been some time since then. Would a blacklisting hurt prospects of the company, no doubt, in the future? What's your take on that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the public sector is an important part of any RCT firm. I think we are somewhere between 15 and 20% of what we do comes from the public sector. From a revenue perspective, from a profit perspective, it's less than that because these tenders are very hotly contended. Our issue is really a reputational thing. If you think about what happened with Microsoft, they took our licensing partnership away. That was a very small part of our business. I think we turn over close to 10 billion rand, and the licensing was about 40. The point was it was reputational, and so we've had to go and rebuild that reputation, and the only way you do it is by going through those steps that are outlined. And so, you know, we've been very careful to make sure that we've done all the right things. You know, there was a huge noise in the press last week when it came out that we had issued summons against some of the former management, but actually that was the last step we were told that we had to do to ensure that we did not get blacklisted. And so we've been through this process. We've had these discussions. I must have done over 100 presentations in the last 2 years to our partners, to large corporates, and they all have got very similar standards. So that's what we've been through.
I understand very quickly, before I let you go, that this particular question revolves around perhaps a contract, if I heard one of your earlier interviews, on the Home Affairs contract that EOH had provided. I'm just wondering, you know, is that where this latest sort of bout of concern is coming out from? And secondly, very quickly, what's the legal advice looking like? Does it look like you'd win this case?
No, sure. So it is. We had a contract with Department of Home Affairs. We have obviously been open and transparent about that. We put that information out some time ago. That was part of our disclosures. It was part of our Section 34 reporting to the Special Investigating Unit and the Hawks. When Department of Home Affairs decided to do a forensic investigation, they approached us and asked us if we would cooperate because they did not have a lot of information. So we, like we've done with the Zondo Commission, like we've done with some of our other investigations, we gave all the information to the investigators. In fact, the 4 emails that were sent to us from the CETA letter were the 4 emails we sent them. And it revolves around CETA officials giving former EOH employees information like the business plan, etc., to allow us to bid. On the Department of Home Affairs, we actually bid 200 million rand less than anyone else. So at the moment, the only people who are struggling is EOH because they had to deliver 51 of 60 milestones at a reduced price. And I think the former management were hoping they could go in with change orders. The reality here is that to get a blacklisting, you have to first have fraud. And this contract, as far as I know, does not have fraud, firstly. Secondly, you have to recommend it to National Treasury, who then run a process. The process is that we'll be called in to give our representations. I've given a brief view of that in the press release and in the SENS announcement. Obviously, it's way more complicated than that. And if National Treasury are then still decide that we haven't ticked all the boxes that they asked us to tick originally, then we do have a court process that we can follow. Our legal advice is that we are pretty confident we've done what we were told to do and what we had to do to avoid that.
All right, I'm going to have to leave it there, but fair enough, we get the point. EOH Chief Executive Stephen van Coller, thanks very much indeed.